Okay, I have some things to give away to you guys from Southern New Mexico Foster Adoption Agency, or Ministry, which is where I'm a director right now, and we work with foster adoptive bio parents. We work with CYFD and recruitment and retention. We do everything we can anywhere. We show up to every meeting that we can, wherever we go, and we're all volunteer, so every penny that we get goes directly to paying for our families to come get trained, or to, we give bags to kids that come into care. We make a nice duffel bag with necessities and emergency supplies for kids that come into care to make sure that everyone shows up, has something. And we do meals for new placements and people who are just taking big placements with kids, so they can help transition with them. So we're starting like a sponsor a meal program, so we can send gift cards to people when they do that, because when they call you and you show up after work and they have 5 children for you, it kind of makes dinner hard. I don't know, we do a lot of other things as they come up, and I can't remember. But I have some giveaway things for you that they gave me. Okay. I need to know who had a birthday like exactly 6 months ago. Anybody? Like March 14th. Because you didn't get a present like the longest ago, and it's going to be a long time till you get a present. Other people just had birthdays, other people coming up. Anybody? How about anybody close to March 14th? Okay, both of you, come up. All right. Okay, sorry. I could jump down and like run, but like I will hurt myself. Okay, I have a Tbri pocket guide. It's a little cheat sheet for you, and then the other one is a video, an intro video, so you can pick which one you want. Or you can arm wrestle, whichever one you would like. Okay, all right. Okay, all right, somebody that went to my session and remembers the name of my car. Clifford the Big Red Van! All right, and you're from LCPS, right? So here's a stack of posters for you. I have a 15-passenger red van. And my husband's like, no more kids, and then he buys me a 15-passenger van, so I don't know what he thinks is happening. So you get these mixed messages. All right, I have 2 more things, so I'll get this way later. All right. Okay, like Matthias said, I am Elizabeth Hoxworth, Betsy Hoxworth. Nobody calls me Elizabeth. And I have to start this. And it's different than my PowerPoint. Is that the right button? What? What do I push? Where's the play slideshow? Right here. Ah, haha, from beginning, because I'm just not looking. I did. Yes, thank you. Sorry. Okay. See, when you teach early childhood, we don't do presentations. This is something I really had to learn, and I'm really not great at PowerPoint, so I apologize that they're not great. But they should all be spelled correctly. That's a big thing. Okay. So that's me. Okay. So I teach Trust-Based Relational Intervention, and when I first learned it, it was a mouthful, and I could not get the letters right at all. And it sounds like TBI, like a traumatic brain injury, but it's not. It's got an R in there, and it means Trust-Based Relational Intervention. And once you kind of get into it, you use it like a verb rather than a noun. And it really, really changed so many things for me. And I have watched people learning about TBRI just change everything about how they practice and what they do, and what they do with their families and their kids. And foster and adoptive parents just suddenly have hope again to go back home and try again, and to see their children with renewed hearts and renewed minds, and to have skills to take home and go and apply right away. This is a quote by Dr. Karen Purvis. She says, "All children need to know that they are precious, unique, and special, But a child who comes from a hard place needs to know it more desperately. They tend to be the hardest ones to love, and they push you away, and they have to know this so much more desperately than any of our other kids. So what is TBRI? Trust-Based Relational Intervention is an attachment-based, for those of you that are attachment folks, like it's all rooted in attachment. Evidence-based, for those of you like, gotta have your evidence-based things. It's holistic. We're looking at the whole child. This is not a strategy or an intervention that is isolated to one part of our kiddos because they are complex people. And it's a trauma-informed intervention. It's designed to meet the complex needs of vulnerable children. But really, once you start learning TBRI, you start learning that it's not just for complex needs of vulnerable children, but if you're a human, it's for humans. And if you have relationships with humans, then it's for you in all of your relationships. The history of TBRI, it was developed by Dr. Karen Purvis and Dr. David Cross at the Karen Purvis Institute for Child Development. It was named after her after she passed away. And I actually have one more, I'll give away one thing right now. So who started, changed careers and started working in this the oldest? Does that make sense? Like you didn't come into this at 20, but maybe you were 40 when you changed over. Anybody feel like they started late and came in? Is this a weird question to ask? Yeah? Okay, interning right now. All right, and I won't ask you how old you are. So I radically changed what I was doing too at about 40. So not that I'm 40 yet. Right? But same thing with Dr. Purvis here. You can have a video. Hey, brave new worlds, right? Coming in, bring our life experience into these things. Dr. Purvis was 40 when she went back to finish her college degree and then developed this whole program, and it is changing things worldwide. So don't be afraid that your life can't be used when you start. First, TBRI is attachment-based. They have connected principles that are directly based on attachment theory, empowering and correcting principles that incorporate those attachment practices and concepts. We'll talk about these principles when we get later. These are the 3 basic principles of TBRI. The sister interventions are circle of security. It's really connected with circle of security and utilizes that a lot. The attachment and behavioral catch-up, ABC, which is also very good, but very hard to find, and I don't even know if we have any ABC practitioners anywhere in this part of the world, or promoting positive parenting. It's based on Jude Cassidy's 4 skills of close relationships, which are seeking care, giving care, negotiation of needs, and the autonomous self. Sorry, there's something weird written here on my notes that I don't think I wrote. So we talk about these are 4 skills of a healthy relationship, and to have these, we have to be able to seek care when we need it, which means you have to understand your needs, and then you have to seek care appropriately when you need that. You need to be able to give nurturing care to someone else. That's a skill we all need to have. You need to negotiate your needs in an appropriate way and get those needs met. So you have to know what your needs are, and then you have to get those met in the appropriate way, using your words to ask or whatever that looks like. We all need those skills, and I don't always use these very well. And then our autonomous self, being able to be yourself wherever you are, so that who you are doesn't change and sway and dramatically differ based on where you are, but that you are able to be yourself with that person in this relationship. And that's something you have to be on your own in order to be a part of these relationships. So these are 4 skills that we teach directly in TBRI. It's evidence-based. There's a bunch of studies and things for people that want to look that up. TBRI is also rated by the California Evidence-Based Clearinghouse for Child Welfare, which takes years and a ton of documentation and a lot of research to get through. So it's rated highly relevant in the child welfare system, and it's their online caregiver training and their caregiver trainings are also called promising interventions. So their parent training programs that address behavior problems in children and adolescents. This is just my defense of TBRI. We'll get into it in a minute. TBRI is whole child. So these are Karen Purvis's 5 B's of trauma. Trauma affects the brain. And so we know that, right? We all, how many here have heard all the trauma things, till you're done hearing about the trauma things? We know about the brain changes. We know about the neurochemical changes. We know what happens in brain growth. That a severely neglected child's brain can actually be significantly smaller than a typical child. We know that the amygdala can be up to 4 times larger in a child from a hard and traumatic history than in a typical child. So that thing's going to fire at the drop of a hat. We know that those are brain changes, and that is real and significant. And so we need to address those through specific interventions to change the brain. We know that it changes the child's biology. There's a lot of studies in epigenetics right now about the switching on and off of your genetic expression based on your circumstances of your life and your hard circumstances flipping on genes and turning off genes and causing a lot of issues with that you then pass down to your kids. We know that there are a lot of changes in the body. They have high rates of, if you haven't read Body Keeps a Score, you need to do so. We have really high rates among children of asthma and even ADHD, but blood sugar issues with our kids because their systems are running really, really hot all the time, and it strips them out and their blood sugar drops. We'll talk more about that later. We have, like I said, super high rates of asthma and a lot of other things that come up and changes in our body, through our lifetimes. So, right, we know about the ACEs, we know about the 20-year shorter lifespan for people that have a significant number of ACEs, and this is all really important for me. Our 2 little adopted boys are 4 and 5, and they're precious and they're cute and they're amazing, but they've got ACE scores of 7 and 8. So we have a lot of work to do for them through their lives so that all of those adverse experiences do not leave them in the place where they could be. We know that trauma changes the belief system. It changes how you feel about the world and how you interact with the world, because everything that we do is based on our experiences. So when your experiences haven't been safe, and when the things that your important people have told you about yourself is that you are worthless and you are nothing and you are not significant, or these are the only ways that you can survive, that colors how you act in the world and what you do. So it changes your belief system. And then it changes your behavior. We tend to only want to think about the behavior, but that's really just a symptom of all of the other things, right? That's the part we see, that's the part we want fixed, that's the part that's a problem, but that's just a symptom of all of these other things that have changed because of our trauma. So TBRI is trauma-informed. Before it was cool to be trauma-informed. And the 3 pillars of trauma-informed care are based on the neurosequential model by Bruce Perry, which are connection, felt safety, and self-regulation. These are the 3 things that we have to have in order to have a trauma-informed program or anything that is trauma-informed. So we must have connection. It's all based. Relationship trauma is only healed through relationships. So we have to have connection with our kids. If we do not have these connections, we cannot rewire the brain. If we do not have the connections, we cannot heal all the trickle-down effects that come through with those things. We do not reach the behavior because we haven't reached the real child. We have to have felt safety. That's different than actual safety, because you can be actually safe and not feel safe at all. We're safe in this room, but some of you may not feel safe in this room. If you've had any kind of traumatic experience, like maybe you were in a room and somebody came in and, had a shooting or whatever, I don't know, in this room. You would not feel safe in a room like this because that place has been violated for you. So felt safety has to be there before they can learn, before we can do anything. We will always be up in our alert brain and not taking in information and moving it to the parts of the brain we need if we don't have any felt safety. So in our schools, that's a really big deal. How do we feel safe in school? Do I feel safe with my teacher? Do I feel safe in the classroom? What experiences have I had that were not safe there with other kids or with other adults? If my framework is that adults aren't safe and the people that were supposed to take care of me don't, the people that are supposed to be there for me are angry or mean, or I'm in trouble all the time, right? I don't feel in a safe place, and we're not going to learn. So we have to have felt safety wherever we are, whatever it is that individuals need at whatever time they need it. And we have to know what that feels like for us too, right? What gives me felt safety and what doesn't. And self-regulation is what we all want, right? We want to be able to regulate ourselves. We want in a work environment, right? People need to be able to not have other people taking care of them and doing all those things. We want to be able to manage all of our stuff on our own, and we want this for our kids, but we have to work on all of those things for ourselves, and we have to bring that into our own self-regulation. So that self-regulation part comes from the part of the brain in the neurosequential model, and these are things that these are levels, right? The front part of the brain is our prefrontal cortex. That's where all of our planning has to come in, and our cortex, right? All of our motor development, all of our language. Those parts have to all be engaged in order for us to control our trauma responses. So that's what self-regulation totally has to be, is how we teach all of these other parts of our brain to cover our trauma responses and to keep us regulated. Tbri is multi-systemic. It has, you know what, I don't have up here as a clock. Oh, there's one. Okay, perfect. It's being used in residential facilities, juvenile justice, and orphanages worldwide, which means that it is cross-cultural. They have partnerships in, I think, 17 countries that the Institute is partnered with and work through there. Child welfare systems use this a lot. Courts use it. I have a little thing to show you later. It is used in schools, medical facilities, medical interventions, and mental health, and probably a lot of others. That was what I was trying to. Okay, so now we're going to get into what Tbri actually is and what it looks like. Tbri has 3 separate principles. We have connecting principles, we have empowering principles, and correcting principles. And I love the way that this is divided up because I can remember 3 things: connecting principles, empowering principles, and correcting principles. And then within those, there are strategies that we work on. The big thing in Tbri, where we start, is connecting. We don't start with correcting. We feel like we spend so much time with our kids and our clients in the correcting phases. And we spend tons of time there, and we can't even get to connecting because everything is so chaotic and they're not ever behaving well enough to get to do any of the good connecting things. But that's upside down. That's flipped. That's not where we need to start. The more time that we spend connecting, the less time we'll spend in any kind of correcting. So our connecting principles, we have mindfulness strategies and engagement strategies. These are the 2 parts of that. Mindfulness strategies talk about you. This is your part of the equation. So a lot of times people talk about mindfulness and they mean like meditate and think about yourself, which is very true, but you are complex, and this is about you and what you're bringing in. So what are you bringing in to that interaction in that moment? What is your energy level that you're bringing in? Are you bringing in kind eyes and calming, or is your energy level up here? Are you stressed? And are you passing that off on our kids, right? So what are you bringing in with you in that moment? But what are you also bringing in from your whole history? What are you bringing in from your childhood? What are you bringing in from your morning before you got there? That's not these kids' fault. That might set them off. Because our kids are on like a hair trigger. And I'll tell you what, if we leave and I'm like, guys, get in the van, Buckle your seatbelts, we gotta go, quick, quick, quick. If I'm doing that with my kiddos, my 2 little ones, my older 5 kids, my first 5, no problem. They're like, oh, I know. And I'm like, get in the car. They can manage. They get a little stressed. We buckle in. We get out of there. We get there. Because, who leaves for school on time with that many children? And I'm like, have to be the teacher. And you can't be late because then your kids are there. And you're like, ah. So, but my 2 new ones, if I am in a hurry, they're done. If they feel that stress from me, even that little bit of like, we got to go, get in the car really quick and get your seatbelt on, they're done. They're panicking, they're standing there, their like little responses go up, they can't get in their seats, they're like, picking them up, putting them in there, and then there's like freaking out because now I'm enforcing and they didn't give time for their brain to transition from what we were doing, and I'm stressed about something, so that means suddenly everything's not safe because mom is stressed. So mom has to be calm in order for the world to be safe. And they're super in tune to any sort of stress things more than any other kids. So even that little thing is going to set them off. I can't come in stressed with them, or else we're really late. So that's a big part of what I have to do all the time with them. And even my older kids, and I got teens in the house. And when they get upset and they start yelling, right, because they're teens and they start doing stuff, like the screaming just starts. Because they can't handle that stress and they are terrified of any kind of stress like that happens in their lives. And we're learning to work through that, but they're little, and we just have to be so mindful of how we are coming across to them and how we are cherishing them. And if you were in my other session, you saw this, but this is the big part. We can't give what we don't have, and we can't take kids on a journey that we have not gone on ourselves, or clients, or adults, whoever you're working with. You cannot take them on a journey that you have not gone on yourself. And you cannot heal hard histories unless you go through and you heal yours. Because we can't give that healing if we don't have it for ourselves. Engagement strategies. So this is about the kid, right? And this is what we're doing with the kid. The whole mindfulness is all about you. And that's one of the hardest parts of TBRI, is just the parts that are about you, right? A lot of this is going to be what you need to change. So we're not changing the kids, we're changing us. So our engagement strategies are how we connect with the kids non-verbally. We're going to use eye contact. These seem like really simple things, but you'd be surprised how little we do them and how hard they are for our kids. And make sure when you have eye contact that you have like kind and gentle eyes. Not that like, look at me, look at my face, right? They're like, oh no, like I don't want to do that, right? Who wants to look at that? They're not gonna look at you. Make sure that when they look at you, you have kind eyes. And, like one of my friends that's a TBRI practitioner, she was like, I had to practice all the time, like the kind eye things. She's like, because I just have like a grouchy face. That's like the way my face is, and I just don't have time for all of that crap, right? And she said, but she's like, I had to literally practice in the mirror to like, how do I make my eyes look kind? Especially now when we have masks, right? And that's all they see of us. It's so, so important that our eyes have to show all of that kindness. When they make the eye contact with us, we got to hold it. We can't abuse that privilege. That is a very special privilege to get that eye contact. Behavior matching. So whatever they're doing, we're going to do. If they're using an orange crayon, we're going to use an orange crayon. If they're sitting on the floor, we'll sit on the floor. That gives so much honor when you engage in what someone else is doing, and you come and you engage in their world that honors their choice. Like, that was so valuable, that what you saw them doing, that I want to do it too, and I want to join you. If they're playing Fortnite, you might have to learn how to play Fortnite. I don't know. I don't do that one. Playful engagement. We're going to play as much as we can because play is safe. Play means we're safe. If you're playing with the kids, then they know that that's safe, because you can't have that alert system while you're playing. You can't have both. So when we play with them, we will disarm all of their fear things. Plus, we all know that we learn better through play. It can take like 100 repetitions to learn a new skill on your own. It can take 8 to 10 if you do it in a game. So these are things that teachers learn, especially early childhood people. They should teach that to all teachers, right? So when my kids don't have good proximity senses, so they don't stay close to us because they didn't have that safe person, and so they don't have any concept of proximity. So they will just go off in the parking lot or go off anywhere. So I can yell at them every time they go off in the street, and I'm calling and calling and calling. But what we do is we play games. And whenever we start to do poorly at it again, we go back. And we play like red light, green light all the time. We play, okay, I call your name, and then you stop. And then it's a game. Then when they're running out and I call their name and they're running everything, it's a game all of a sudden. It's not a panicked response. So it triggers their game and their play reflexes because we do it a lot instead of turning it into a panic thing. So you use keywords, things like that to teach our kids these things through play. And we're going to use healthy touch, which is a little tricky now. But we can use virtual touch, but our kids actually just really need touch. They just do. They're human beings. They need touch. We need a shoulder. We need a firm touch on a shoulder. Whatever we can do, always ask permission, right? We need to teach them gentle touch when they are too rough and they don't understand gentle touch. They need to learn that kind of modulation. They need to know what that feels like. And they need human contact. We need high fives of all different kinds. Some of our kids are just way too rough. It's part of their sensory things. And they need to learn how to calm it down and what's appropriate. And we have to use that. It's a very, very powerful tool. And you're always going to check your voice quality. So your voice quality needs to always match your level of engagement with the kiddo. So you can't have a typically grouchy voice if you are not grouching at the kids. And they're so sensitive, right? Every little thing. I have to watch my voice quality. Even if I'm in a hurry, with my little ones, I have to be like, okay, we're going to get in the car and we're going to do it before I count to 5 this time. Ready? Right? And so I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're going to, run and they'll jump in their chairs and get in their car seat. If I watch my voice quality, then I can turn it into play and we can actually get out the door. I also need to, again, we'll work on that and we'll modulate our voice as we need to for when we need more structure in our conversation or situation. But a lot of times we forget and we just speak offhand and we speak quickly to our kiddos or to our families or to whoever, and it triggers their defenses just because of how we're using our voice, and doesn't matter what we're saying. So here's a picture of Dr. Purvis doing all these things, right? She is down with the child. She is down at eye level. She had eye contact with this boy. She is engaged with what he's doing. She is playing. She is delighting in him. Her voice, you can imagine, is really happy and encouraging in this situation. And he's regulated and engaged in this activity. And I love her quotes. She passed away a few years ago, which is a great loss. Okay, empowering principles. These are my favorite. We have 2 different empowering principles, our physiological strategies and our ecological strategies. Our physiological strategies are the internal physical needs of the kid. So this is all about the kid and their bodies. So 3 of the big things that we need is hydration. Our kids are chronically dehydrated. Our kids that come from a hard trauma background and whose alert systems run really high are typically extremely dehydrated. And they need to drink water all the time. They just need to drink water. They also know that drinking is regulating. And once you feel thirsty, you've already lost 10% of your cognitive processing capacity. So by the time you feel thirsty, you're already there. So our kids really need everything that they can get. We do not need them to lose 10% just because they're thirsty. We have got to give them every benefit that we can. So they need to drink all the time. We have got to get them hydrated. They have got to flush all of those stress chemicals out of their bodies. They have to pee a lot. They just have to. They cannot allow that those toxins build up in their body from all of the adrenaline that they're getting constantly from their amygdala, firing all day long. All of those chemicals are building up in their bodies, those neurochemicals. And they got to flush it out. They have to drink. And a lot of our kids don't drink. Water is one of the hardest things to swallow, and when you have not had the appropriate learning of food transitions, which a lot of our kids have not, and they have not gone from, breast if they were breastfed, a lot of them weren't, to the bottle appropriately, and then at the right time transitioned to solid foods, and then moved on to all those different things with the spoons. They don't have the right motor control of their tongue. Most of our kids will only have, even if they're older, they're only going to have a forward and back movement of their tongue. They're not going to have the lateral movement of their tongues. So we see that in a lot of speech issues or things like that, but they might not even have those. But they look like super picky eaters. And it's really because they did not get appropriate tongue development from getting and the muscle development in their mouth from all this food. And water is one of the hardest things to swallow because water scatters through your mouth and you have to swallow it and it feels like it's going down the wrong pipe. There are things that are really easy to eat, like, let's see, what do our kids all eat, right? Chicken nuggets, right? Mashed potatoes, white bread, those things all, pizza. You can those will all make a bolus in your mouth. And so you take a bite, you chew it up, and it makes a little ball by itself. And then you can swallow it easily and push it to the back. You know what doesn't do that very well? Vegetables, carrots, salad, all those things that our kids won't eat, right? And it's a motor problem. It's not a will problem. It's a motor problem with their tongue. And they need speech therapy, and they need to learn how to move their tongue, and they need to strengthen their muscles and get lateral movement in their tongue. And then we get so upset with them. You only eat this or you don't eat that. And they can't make good choices in nutrition for themselves because they feel like they're going to die if they eat those foods. Because they really do feel like they're going to die. Because they can't make that bolus to swallow it so it stays scattered. So it's a tiny thing, but it's a really big deal for our kids. And then they're not getting the nutrition they need because they can't eat the whole foods that they need to be eating. And they're only feeding them, and it just makes this big cycle. So blood sugar is another issue. Every time they have a big amygdala rush, they get a blood sugar crash. So all day long, their amygdala is firing. They're in a stressful situation, stressful, all day long. All those things happening. And their blood sugar is just down. And when your blood sugar is crashed, we all talk about hangry as a joke, but it's not a joke with me. I can't. My husband, when my husband went to talk to my dad about asking him if he could marry me or whatever, that was the one thing my dad said. He said, I've known you forever, that's all good, but I just want you to know, if she's grouchy, you better feed her. Because it is not going to be good for anyone. And she won't eat, and she'll be grouchy, and she won't just give her food. And that's totally true, because if my blood sugar drops, I'm done. I'm horrible. And I haven't done that. And how can I, right? That's another thing I have to take care of myself for my kiddos, because if I'm not regulated, I sure don't have the patience to be all the things that they need from me. So we need to make sure that we are doing that and regulating our blood sugar. And our kids, especially if they're eating white bread and pizza, right, that's also going to give them blood sugar crashes. That's not going to maintain them at all. So they need to eat every 2 hours. Just keep snacks. They need to eat every 2 hours. And that's hard at school, but figure out a way for your hard kids to get to eat every 2 hours. Usually protein snacks are good. And then especially before bed, they need to eat a protein snack before they go to bed. We do peanut butter and banana sandwiches, sometimes in a little roll-up, because their nighttime is not safe for a lot of our kids, and their experiences at night are not safe, and they still stay on alert, and they don't sleep well at all. And so they're up, and their systems are running on high, and they're awake a lot, and they have the same blood sugar crashes at night. And then you can't drag them out of bed in the morning because they're completely depleted. So they're starting off their day terribly because we can't get them out because they had such a big blood sugar crash overnight. So they need to eat some peanut butter before they go to bed. That's cheap. Like we can do spoons, something like that. Before they go to bed, that'll help with regulate their sleep cycles too. And then sensory needs. So I'm sorry, I know we're going to be out of time to go, and I'm going to have to run really fast through my stuff. I'm sorry, I could talk about this forever. Our sensory needs, right? Our kids, so it's like 1 in 14 kids has sensory processing disorder in real life in the regular population. Over like 89% of our kids with a hard trauma background have sensory needs. So we have to look and see, is this a behavioral issue or is this a sensory need? Their sensory system is not taking in information in the way that everybody else's does. So I have a kiddo who has a really low sensory registration. So he doesn't feel the same things that other people feel. So if you touch him, if I would come up and he's playing and I touch his arm, he doesn't know I'm there unless I give a lot of input for him to feel that. So he's rough. He doesn't know where he is in space until he's bumping up against somebody. So that looks like pushing in the line. But he doesn't know where he is until he bumps up against him. Like he really doesn't know where his body is. He's way better now, but he is learning to drive. And yeah. If you see the big red van, actually doesn't drive that one because I'm not ready for that one yet. I'm like, how is he going to figure out where the other part of the car is if he can't figure out where his own body is? But we're working on it. And then on the other side, there's defensiveness, right? There's the other kids where anything their body's interpreted as pain. So the slightest little touch or bump, like he hit me. Like, he didn't hit you, right? But that's how their body felt that. They just have a lot of bizarre things that happen. They're loud or they're rough or they're crazy, they run around. These kids get in trouble a lot, or they are really withdrawn and they don't want anyone to touch them and they try to hide in the background and they have headphones on all the time because noise is too much for them. And then they're missing out all these other things because they can't process all that stuff because their sensory needs are way out of control. So that's a whole other thing, training, like figure out how to meet their sensory needs and look at them really critically and see what's a sensory need, what's a behavior thing. What we have to really examine all this stuff. So our ecological strategies is going to be about the environment. So we're going to take into the environment because that matters for our kids. How do we set our kids up for success in their environments? So as a teacher, how busy is my classroom for my kids that are if I know that they are overwhelmed by sensory distractions and I make my classroom full of all of this stuff and then I expect them to pay attention to me, it's not going to happen. Right? I've set them up for failure by putting up things that are going to mess them up. So we're going to make sure their bedrooms are a certain way and anything that we can do to set our kids up for success in whatever environment they're in, we really, really want to do that. Because we want them to gain their skills. They got to build these skills. So we want to help them in all of those things, gain the skills, and then they can move out into the world. So transitions are a really big thing. So we have small transitions and we have big transitions. And our kids have a really, really hard time with transitions. Their brains are not coordinated very well. And so letting go of one task that you're engaged in to move to another task is a really hard thing. And you don't know what's going to come next. And that unpredictability sets you off. And letting go, I'm engaged in this thing, this feels safe, I'm doing really good, and now I have to put it away and I don't know what's coming next. And that might not be safe. So it's really, really hard to transition. They need a lot of warnings. They have to know what's coming next. We have transitions all stinking day long. Starts from getting out of bed, right? Like even that whole take your covers off of your warm bed and get out of there. Like that's a big transition. That's a huge sensory leap. That's a big, hard deal. Getting dressed, moving to the car, going to breakfast, getting this, that, and that. Before you go out the door, you have all of these different transitions that they have to get through. Then we get to school, and it's one right after the other of our transitions that our kids are having all day long. And then they come home and they're exhausted, and their behaviors go through the roof because they are so tired from all of those stressful things that happen all day long. and then we can't take them. You know how many calls I get for kids in the middle of the night? A lot. We never get calls during the day. That's never when they're disrupting. We have big transitions too in life, right? We've got transitions like all day long, little teeny ones, and then we have big ones from one year to the next for school. We have kids that are living with one parent and going to the other one, right? Or mom has, here, and then mom has a new boyfriend, then that boyfriend is gone. Now there's another new guy coming in. These are all transitions invading into their safe space, and they all cause dysregulation, and we can't be surprised by it. We have to know it's coming, and we need to identify that and know that it's because of this. Let's get through this period, and we'll move on. We have just life transitions that are all really big too. Scaffolding, we're going to scaffold anything that we can. For success, we're going to lower our bar where they can be successful. We want our kids to succeed. And they can't come to us to do that. We go to them where they are. And whatever we have to do to make them successful, we do it. Then you lower that bar wherever they can be. And then they feel good, they're successful, and we build on success instead of building on failure. So wherever you got to go back to find where they are, that's where we want to set our bar for success. We know our kids are going to mess up again. So we take that teen's phone, they're looking at porn, and they lose their phone, and we give it back and they do it again. Like, we know that that's going to happen, right? But we can go, you know what? You went 2 days this time. Isn't that great? Like last time it was like the first day and you were starting to do that. But you know what? You're doing better, right? So we need to take that away again. We're having trouble regulating those behaviors on your own. So to keep you safe, we're going to do this again. We'll reset for a little while. We'll come back and we'll try this again. And let's see how long we can get while we're successful in that. And then we're going to say, hey, we got 6 days this time. So now we're going to see, that was great. So we're scaffolding whatever behaviors we got to do for success, and we're finding that. And we're going to do daily rituals. We're going to do things the same way every day as much as you can to build predictability. A lot of our kids showed up at school one day, somebody else picked them up, they never went back home. My kids, that's what happened to mine. The police came, took the kids away, they never went back home again. Just never happens. And one day they're visiting their parents, the next day they never saw them again. That was it. They're just gone from their lives. And so they don't know what happens next. They just know that other bad things have happened and things have changed, and I don't know who's picking me up the next day, and I don't know. So, and that happens with a lot of our kids too, right? They don't know who's picking them up, who's going to meet the bus, who's going to be there. Is it going to be grandma? Is mom, passed out at home again? Or is she gone with this guy? Or like what, right? So we're going to build everything that we can to build safety and security in our rituals. Every time we see the kids, we're going to greet them the same way. We're going to do things the same way. We're going to close it all the same way. When they see you, it's always the same. Everything you can do in the day to make it as safe and to make it the same way and to make it predictable so that they know what comes next. Our correcting principles, and I'm sorry that I have to go through these all so fast. I hate this. So we have proactive strategies and responsive strategies. So this is significant. It is powerful for our children to know that they are loved and adored even in the midst of their worst behaviors. It is so important for them to know that even in their bad behaviors, even their terrible things that they're doing, they are still loved and adored and they are still precious. Our proactive strategies we teach our kids during our calm times. So we're teaching all the time when they're calm so that they have all of these resources to fall back on when they're not. These are some of the things that we teach. You guys have these life value terms in there. So we use scripts that are like really short words. These life value terms, with respect, use your words, with permission and supervision, because when they start to get dysregulated, they're not processing a lot of language. The most they can take in is 2 or 3 words. So we use these code words to get them back on track. So if they start to do something, we say, not, I told you can't do that without asking me first. What are you doing? Right, they're gone. But if I say, with permission and supervision, and they go, oh, that's right. That means I have to come back and ask. So these are just a few things that we use. You can make up your own. We use these things all the time. I have little stop signs around my house and all the things where they're not supposed to go, rooms that they have to go in, because every time they find a stop sign, they say, wait and ask. So my kids have to come up and go, wait and ask, wherever the stop signs are. We give choices, and this sounds really counterintuitive because we want to restrict that, and we don't want to give that away. We want to make sure that we have all the power in this situation, and that's not what they have. We are not giving away any power because it is all ours to share, and we are allowing them to share in that. So you're not giving it away. You're allowing it. We always give choices. Choice always restore a child's voice and value. They have learned that their voice doesn't matter. And so they use their behavior, right? All behavior is the language of an unmet need. So we have to always look behind that behavior and see what's there. What need is going on behind that we need to meet in a better way so that we don't have these behaviors anymore. And restoring their voice, all of our parents that we work with, they know that their voice doesn't matter. They just feel that way, significantly. There are huge populations in our country and in our world that really have not had a voice. And their voice doesn't matter, and they haven't been heard. And so we need to give them value by giving them a voice, listening to them. Make sure that the choices are okay. It's not do what I say right now or you're kicked out of school. That's not really a choice, right? But you can say, do you want to come and sit out here for 5 minutes? Or would you like to return to the classroom right now with the kids? Which would you like to do, right? These are our two choices. Those are both okay. I can live with either of those. You can take an extra 5 minutes if you need to, or you can go right now. We're going to offer opportunities with our choices, and I say make sure there's not right or wrong choice, and think about ways that you can offer choices in what you do. It might not seem significant to you, but would you like the red pen or the blue pen? I don't know. How would you like to go? Would you like to skip down the hall, or do you want to walk backwards down the hall? I don't know. How can you offer a choice in whatever you're doing, however you reach them, so that they have a voice? They get to say it, and we honor that. We also teach about compromises. So if they don't like either of your choices, and they're like, I hate those, and I hate you, so not doing either one of them, so, right? So you can say, well, would you like to ask for a compromise? I'm willing to listen. You got something you want to say? You want to negotiate these terms? We can do that, right? They're learning that words have power and they don't have to use behaviors. They're learning that you will listen to that. I do that all the time. We go to a restaurant and I want sweet potato fries instead of regular fries. So I'm going to speak up and I'm going to ask that, right? I'm negotiating to get my needs met the way I want to do it in an appropriate way. And that's what we want to do, right? It doesn't have to be my way or the highway. We'll give some choices and they might have a whole other thing that you hadn't thought of. Right? That's okay. And so you make sure that if they ask for that compromise, you're like, yeah, that's not really good. Do you have another one? And sometimes it can take a while, but they'll get good at it. They'll get better at this skill, and they'll move on to what they're doing. Sometimes they'll play word games for a while, but that's your connecting activity too, right? You're engaging in the word game with them. You're playing and honoring that. They're not getting in trouble. You're not busting their butt, right? We're playing this game now. And you and I are here, and I'm okay with it. So we're teaching them social skills, how to ask. We want them to know that our words have power, both in good ways and bad ways, right? They do. And for them, we know that words have power with them. And we want to always keep their behavior moving forward. We don't want to get in a place where we're stuck. If you start saying my way or the highway, then you've just thrown that gauntlet down, and let me tell you, they will take it. And they will go. And you have a battle on your hands. Our responsive strategies. Give tools for responding to challenging behavior from children. And so the ideal response, this really takes a lot of time to go through. I'm so sorry. We're going to always be immediate. We like to say within 3 seconds and 3 feet, you got to be close. You know who these kids are. You know where you got to be. 3 seconds and 3 feet, you are right there. Okay, we're not waiting till later. We're not doing this in an hour. We are responding immediately when something starts to come. You can start to see in their jaw. You can see in their eyes when they're going to start to have a struggle. We learn how to read those cues so that we intervene then, and then they learn how to spot those things in their bodies because they know we're like, oh, I can see you're getting a little tense right here. Do you feel that? That's when you're starting to go. So now that's when you need to do your regulation things. So we're nipping it in the bud before it gets way out of. We're always going to be direct. And so we're getting right to it. We're not jumping around the point. I'm sorry. We're efficient, so you don't use any more words than you have to. So if I can just say, remember that you got to do that with permission and supervision, that's all I got to say. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. Or, hey, check your feet when you're walking, check your feet. What kind of feet you use in the hall? I don't have to be like, stop running in the hall, right? Whatever I got to do to just be done, and I let it go, and I'm done. They quit, I'm done. The fewest things that I have to do. Even if I feel like I want to take out more of my anger and frustration on them because I'm not okay, that's me not being okay. They're done. I need to let it be done. And then I move on. It's always action-based. So we redo everything. We do a lot of redos, So we're going to try that again, and we're going to have a successful pathway for doing it again. Instead of berating you and making you sit in the corner, we're going to go back to the door. We're going to get your backpack. We're going to walk through here again. We're going to set it down. We're going to open it up. We're going to try that again. Now we are building on success instead of just being in trouble. And we're always leaving the last pathway as the successful pathway. And they get praise for that, right? And we reinforce that. And that's a pathway our brain wants to go back to because we're creating positive experiences. And it's always leveled at the behavior and not the child. So they have to always be precious. They are not bad. They are precious. And our faces need to show that we believe that because no one else has done that for them. No one's believed in our families, and no one has treated them kindly. And they all know I do these things, I screw up, I'm worthless. No, you are precious, you are valuable, you are important, you are worth investing in. These things that we're doing over here are not okay, and we're going to deal with that. But these things over here are not okay, but you are. We have levels of response. Level 1 is playful engagement. We're always going to playfully engage and try to dissipate anything that we can with play. Structured engagement, we get a little bit more strict in our tone. Calming engagement is all, we're just calming a situation. It doesn't matter what we got there. We're not berating that horse. And protective engagement is when they're really losing it and all we're doing is working on protecting everyone in that situation until it calms down, and then we're going to come back. And we're going to come back and we're always going to restore. We have a rupture, we're always going to restore. We're always going to do it again. We are not going to leave things in a broken cycle. So we are not done until the kids' feet are solidly underneath them and they are okay. And we are okay. And everything's okay. That's when you're done with your situations. And we come back to it again. I don't have time to show you this, but I'll show it tomorrow in my small one if you want to come. So my session tomorrow is going to be like, what does this look like across systems? So what would it look like? And I want to do discussion-based things. So what does it look like in a school that we implement these Tbri principles? What would it look like in child welfare? What would it look like in your particular program that you're in? What would it look like in the medical field? What does it look like in mental health practice? What does it look like in a court, juvenile justice? All those things. So we'll do that tomorrow. But, I'm sorry, I think you guys have been so patient, but I'll just finish with this. If I have planted and farmed the soil well, those who come after me and after them will be wiser and more well-equipped and more able to continue the mission, which is not just rhetoric for the Institute. We are truly learning to change the world for children. And thank you so much. I'm so sorry. Back to you.